to Verona by the deaths of the two star-crossed lovers, the world is left unsatisfied for the cause of their death. Were they killed by love, or were they killed by the people around them?
The apothecary sold the poison. Friar Lawrence wed them. Lord Capulet forced Juliet into marriage. The nurse told Juliet to forget about Romeo. And Benvolio turned Romeo in.
Hi, I'm Amulya here with another episode of Crime Time, and we are here to decide the truth about Romeo and Juliet's death. Was it fate, or was it felony? Benvolio, Romeo's trusted cousin and friend, helped Romeo get over his love for Rosaline. He even took Romeo to the Capulet party so that Romeo can look at all the different fish in the sea, so he wasn't so hung up over her. Benvolio helped Romeo through a lot of his issues throughout his life. He was basically Romeo's best friend. But was Benvolio all that he seemed? Sure, he was Romeo's trusted friend and confidant. But he also let Romeo fall in love with the Capulet, and he turned Romeo into the prince when he killed Tybalt. Benvolio, why did you take Romeo to the party?
Romeo was lovesick for Rosaline, and I knew the only way to help him get over it was to take him to this party.
But you knew that this was a Capulet event, and Montagues were definitely going to get in trouble. Why did you decide to do it anyways?
Romeo was lovesick. He needed help. I did not think that crazy old Tybalt would recognize his voice. Also, I did not expect Romeo to fall for Lord Capulet's daughter.
Anyways, moving on. You did turn Romeo in to the prince when he killed Tybalt, didn't you?
I am a peacemaker. I do not lie, especially to authority. And I also told Romeo to run away before the prince even came, so I was helping him.
Do you hold yourself responsible for any of their deaths?
None.
Benvolio was only looking out for his cousin. He had no intention for the couple and did not even know that Romeo was in love with the Capulet. Though he did take Romeo to the Capulet party, he did not know that they would get into trouble for this. After looking at all of its actions over these past 5 days, we have determined that Benvolio did not play a significant role in the deaths of these two star-crossed lovers. The nurse has been there for Juliet ever since her birth, and she has helped Juliet through all of her problems. She even helped wed Romeo and Juliet in secret and didn't tell anyone about their love. She guided Juliet and acted as a second mother. But that's not all the nurse did. Sure, she was Juliet's caring second mother and a good confidant, but she also told Juliet that Romeo was not right for her. This led to Juliet becoming very confused and unstable. This may have caused the confused death of Romeo and Juliet. So tell me, nurse, why did you allow a Capulet and Montague to get married in the first place?
Well, I've always helped Juliet with all of her problems, and at the time, Romeo seemed like an amazing guy. Who knew he would be a terrible person for a family?
After allowing them to get married, why did you tell them that they were better off without each other?
Romeo was a dishcloth compared to Paris. Paris would have given Juliet a wonderful life. He was a man of wax. And also, Romeo killed Juliet's beloved cousin. How dare she still love him?
Did you or did you not hold back information when Juliet wanted to know what was happening to Romeo?
I did hold back some information, but it was only for fun. I've known Juliet for a very long time, and I like to poke some fun at her occasionally.
So, do you or do you not think you have a part in Romeo and Juliet's death?
Not.
The nurse was always looking out for Juliet's best interest. Juliet asked her for her opinion, but Juliet did not like the responses she got. The nurse was giving her own opinions, and she wanted what was best for Juliet. Looking at her actions, we see that she did not intend for these things to happen. Lord Capulet, Juliet's caring father, decided that Juliet should marry for love, not for anything else. He also decided that Juliet was way too young for marriage. He initially refused Count Paris's offer for her hand in marriage because that she must marry for love. Initially, he was a good father, and he took great care of her and let her decide what she wanted to do. For long, Lord Capulet initially said that Juliet could marry whoever she likes for love, but in the end, he forced her to marry Count Paris. He even threatened to kick her out of the house if she didn't comply to what he asked. This made Juliet very upset with her life and unstable. This may have caused the death of Romeo and Juliet. Why were you so adamant on marrying Paris to Juliet?
Well, Juliet was my only daughter, and I wanted what was best for her.
And when she said no, why did you threaten to kick her out of the house?
Well, I was very angry at my daughter for disobeying me. She's still young, and she doesn't know why I want her to marry Paris.
Do you think you have any part in getting Juliet to drink that potion?
Well, at the time, I did not know Juliet and Romeo were married. And if I did know, I would still have been very disappointed in her. She should have married Paris, and they could have lived happily ever after.
Do you hold yourself responsible for any part of Juliet and Romeo's death?
No.
Capulet did not know about Romeo's marriage to Juliet. He knew that Paris was good for her and thought that she was crying over Tybalt the whole time, not Romeo. He had good intentions for his daughter and loved her. Looking at his actions, we see that he did not intend for these things to happen. The apothecary, who was an innocent man, had never done anything worth getting in trouble for in his life. He worked hard and lived a very humble life. He had very limited money, and he was isolated from the other characters. We're not introduced to the apothecary until the very end of the story. Although he lived a very humble life, he did nothing bad when tempted with money. Sure, the apothecary was a kind and honest man, but people can change. The night of Romeo's death, we saw a bottle of poison lying next to Romeo. This led us to believe that the apothecary may have had some part in Romeo's death. He may have had another motivation other than money to give the poison to Romeo, leading to the sad death of Romeo and Juliet. Apothecary, tell me, what tempted you to give Romeo the poison?
Well, I was very poor at the time, and the money Romeo offered could last me a lifetime, and without it, I could starve and die.
Did you know that Romeo would choose to kill himself with the poison you gave him?
Well, obviously, poison can only be used for bad things, and I didn't know what was going on at Verona at that time.
So, do you hold yourself responsible for any part in Romeo and Juliet's death?
Not at all.
The apothecary did sell the poison to Romeo, but that does not mean that he had any part in this controversy. He does claim that he never knew what was going on in Verona the entire time. So, in the end, we conclude that the apothecary had no part in Romeo and Juliet's death. Friar Lawrence, a kind and helpful priest, was very much involved in Romeo and Juliet's life. Friar Lawrence helped Romeo and Juliet do their wedding, and he also helped come up with a plan so that Romeo and Juliet could stay together for the entirety of Romeo's banishment. He helped keep Romeo and Juliet together, and most people in the town very much respected him. He was very well known and assisted people whenever they needed his help. He was a holy man, yet no one could see right through him. He was the one who was careless in delivering Romeo's letter. He also left Juliet by herself in the tomb when she was heartbroken over Romeo's death. We all think that the friar is the reason that both Romeo and Juliet died. So tell me, Friar, why did you help Romeo and Juliet get married in the first place?
I thought that their love could help bring peace to the streets of Verona and end the Montague and Capulet feud.
And what did you get from the ending of the Montague and Capulet feud?
Nothing, I swear. All I wanted was peace.
Why did you give Juliet the potion to drink?
Juliet and Romeo were in love, and Juliet was being forced to marry Paris. She needed to be with Romeo, so the potion would have helped.
When you found out Friar Lawrence did not deliver the note, what did you do?
I went straight to her tomb to help her when she woke up and get her to Romeo. I did not know Romeo would be there.
Why did you leave Juliet alone in the tomb with Romeo?
I was fearing for my safety. The people were coming, and if they saw what I had done, I would have been in so much trouble.
Friar Lawrence did have a lot to say about Romeo and Juliet's death, which leads us to believe that Friar Lawrence did take part in their deaths. Friar Lawrence wed Romeo and Juliet and came up with a plan for Juliet to see Romeo again. Friar Lawrence told us that he started getting involved in hopes that it would end the feud between the Capulets and the Montagues. But he never said exactly how he would do it. Would he really have gone through all this trouble just to end the feud between the Capulets and the Montagues?
After a thorough investigation, we have concluded that all of these people have had some part in Romeo and Juliet's deaths, but the one who came out on the top was Friar Lawrence.